Hey, welcome to the Sexual Life Podcast. I'm Steve Mayeda. I'm your host of this podcast. Right now, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the red pill, the blue pill, men go their own way, different MRA movements, and how that ties in to so much stuff, can be dangerous, can be good, and why we should all build the dialogue of the real meaning behind this to be the better man. That's what I care about. I care about you being sexual, being active, expressing, and having the sex that you want in your life in all the ways that nobody wants to talk about. So, on to this podcast. Now, where we record these podcasts, in fact, it's 1:28 a.m. and it's actually July 27th. We started this on the 26th at 8 p.m. and this call has just been going and going. And we're talking about all these different things because we're a men's group that's alive. There's actually a guy in Beirut talking right now, to a guy in Indiana, to a guy in Austin, to a guy in Illinois, and to a guy in Cleveland. And we're all going off on all this different stuff. And when it comes down to it, we being a men's group, and we being a men's group of really experienced sexually active men, there's a bit of a difference that we see when we're out working it, because that's what we do. I mean, we work and we collaborate. On Wednesday night, we also do it. Thursday, we have a sex and relationships call. Saturday, we have multiple calls. On Sunday, we have a call which goes 15, 16 hours. Monday, we have an accountability call. There's so much that we put into it. We have a little bit of a different dialogue of what it means to be a man in excellence. In fact, so much to a point where we don't unify on this insanely complex structure of belief in order for us to be a man. Some of the things that we believe in order to be a functioning man and a functioning human being is that we need to have our sexuality activated. We need to be pushing that out there. We need to be pressing that out there in multiple different forms of relationships, just so long as it's challenging yourself and you are being held accountable to being the best possible version of yourself in whatever relationship you're in. And also, you should use your body, you should use your mind, you should use your passion, your ambition, your pursuit of lifestyle, and all of your born to be qualities. So really the qualities that you evolve to have. Now, this gets to an interesting thing because there's a ton of experience on our calls. Guys who've been married, guys who've been in war, guys who've really, really lived their lives. And there's also guys who, are in college and, just getting started with their lives. But that pursuit and that taste for life is key. That passion, that ambition to push yourself to really be that entire man. When we get into these different labels of masculinity, whereas you have your tribe of the MGTOW, the men go their own way. You have your tribe of the red pill. You have your tribe of the blue pill. You have your tribe of the different men's rights activists. I believe in qualities of all those groups. And there have been times in my life, and there's been times in the lives of guys in our group where we felt the need for all those things. But if we forced ourselves to fit into a label and built a culture around that label to where we could only be that, we would have never grown to be the men we are. This is where things get dangerous. And where I want to say these things get dangerous is not because the ideology is just this insanely flawed thing. And there are some insane fucking shit on that, on some of those boards and what those people believe and what they turn their lives into. And it's terribly unhealthy and totally fucked up. But it's the man that does that. Just like, and we talk a lot about addiction on our Daily Awesome podcast, and even on this podcast, and sex addiction and so on, just like the porn isn't the problem, the heroin isn't the problem, the cocaine isn't the problem, and all these things that I've actually used to excess in my life, being a recovering drug addict. And as you know, well, now it's past, but the 26th was my anniversary, and that could go away at any moment if I used again or whatever. But the thing is that heroin was not my problem. My problem was me. When I put it into me, in the void that was within me and the emptiness within me, or the lack of direction, or these types of things that I paired with that, turned it into something that would destroy my life and hurt other people around me to the point of incomprehensible demoralization. And so when we get a philosophy is what man is supposed to feel. A philosophy gives us identity. It gives us who we are and our passions, and it's such a creative thing. Our thought and our ability to think and our ability to come up with structures and ways of life that we feel ambition and passion for is so massive to us. But one thing that happens when we all kind of grow up and have some life experience and gain some wisdom, and wisdom, a huge topic of tonight's call, was actually defined as something that there's so much information. Knowledge is one thing. Experience is one thing. But when you can combine that information and knowledge with experience, that is where wisdom starts to grow. And where wisdom solidifies is when you can share that experience with another person and pass on that knowledge. In any case, we talk about a lot of stuff like this. But what I see with these movements is a lot of guys who aren't having sex, who haven't had relationships, who build up armor and fears around different relationships. In fact, one of the things that was brought up on the call is being somebody who's existed in strip clubs so much. And Terrence, one of the TSL fixtures, you should check him out. Here's his book. The Militant Nice Guy. If you sign up for our MD Excellence program, you actually get that mailed to you and signed by him. But the thing about Terrence is that he's also somebody who came into his own in a strip club. In fact, he said that had he not gotten his career, he would have been a pimp. Hands down. And the guy, he's got it, man. He's got all of the qualities where he could have been that. That all being said, he says, man, one of the things that I know is that when I go to a strip club with my buddies, and you get those group of guys that have never really been to a strip club, and they say, man, why the fuck would I do that, man? You know, I don't need to go to a strip club. You know, I don't need to pay a woman to like me. I don't need to have this and that in order to be a man or blah, 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 blah. And he's like, man, half of those guys are going to be the ones that get taken for a ride by a stripper. And the reason why is because they have that big wall up and that front up about what it is without experience. And for a guy like him who has existed and lived in these clubs or been around these women so much, man, there isn't a rule set that he has. There isn't a code that he has to live by. There may be some things that he believes, but it's his general confidence shining through that makes this work. The problem, especially, man, what I get so much with the red pill guys is there's so much anger, the red pill rage, the fucking hatred, the you got shit on, the you need to find out the evolutionary purpose and role for women so that they can, you know, blah, 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 and the different ways they manipulate you. Man, here's the thing. If you live life, that's going to happen. And we've all been there. I remember when I went through a big deal with women in my life, and I actually don't know many people who've been as screwed as me when it comes to women, but it was great, man. It taught me a lot. It was a fucking awesome thing. And for about 3-4 months, I was like, man, I want to make all of my mission in life about men's rights activism. I want to make it all like, this is crazy. Why aren't people talking about this? People need to know that you can get screwed in custody. You can get screwed in fucking court. That when you get divorced, you get taken for a ride. That you can get screwed by going to jail. You can get screwed by, you know, basically forking over, you know, $100 or close to $100,000 in legal fees just to fight a battle that you can't win. You know, these are all things that happen to me. Now, that all being said, that sucks. But that's what happens when you play the game of life. Sometimes you do things in ways where you meet some fucked up people. Sometimes you do some things where you don't cover your ass enough. Sometimes you do some things that are stupid. But all of those things were a part of my life and my decisions, and I got to own them. Whether or not I was lied to and manipulated by somebody. But guess what? In order for me to live a good life, 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, 7 years down the road, to find a great woman, to start a family with good people, to have something where I could build a foundation and be a strong man for my other kids that are in my life that look up to me and need me to be there. I can't sit around and complain and bitch and have a reason to complain and bitch. And in fact, what puts me at a better place to articulate the points that are wrong with the system is me, personally me, getting to a point where I can define myself and not have any insecurity brought to the table. This is what I see with a lot of the red pill guys. This is what I see. And then with the blue pill shit, man, fuck, man. This is my favorite thing. Whenever I talk about like, oh, you know, I'm with my wife and I love her, and sometimes she tells me what to do and I listen, and sometimes I tell her what, I don't fucking care. And they say, oh man, your blue pill or your purple pill or whatever fucking weird dynamic they see shit with. Man, no, let me tell you something. You fucking bitch. I've fucking lived a lot of life. I've done a lot of shit. You are speaking from a concept or somebody else telling you how to live your life. I'm sitting here, no, man, I make free decisions as they come. Your philosophy may not be bad for you right now. I get why you need it, but you need it because you don't know what to do. In fact, in many ways, that is the definition of not being alpha by your definition of alpha. Or if we look at the men go their own way, there's so many times where it's like, I don't need women. I do not need this in my life. I do not need anything to tie me down. I can do my own thing. And the more I do my own thing and the more I empower myself, the more that the right stuff comes my way. Man, that's great. But you know what? At some point in life, what I'll say is, man, if you're not connecting with other people, if you're not seeing that the man is completed by the woman and the woman is completed by the man, and the merging of the two together creates a new, beautiful thing, you become unhealthy. You become not mentally healthy, you become physically unhealthy, and your life kind of goes to shit. Man, there's so much of this that ties into what makes one kind of the worst person. Anytime I need an archetype to shape who I am means I don't know. And I do that. I fake it till I make it plenty of times. But that's also that I can wear the pants. I can wear the shoes. I can walk the walk. And I could live in that road. Everything that you do is meant for your own personal individuality to be built. And when we have a crippled sense of self and we create a community around that, a lot of toxic shit comes into play. Man, there's nothing wrong with philosophy. You need it. There's nothing wrong with a God. There's nothing wrong with a path. There's nothing wrong with fighting for your rights. But you get to your best place. Don't define yourself by anybody else. Don't need a group to validate yourself. Don't need an ideology or a philosophy. The best part about my group, about these guys who are on the MD Excellence call right now that are burning the midnight oil talking about shit, is because they're decompressing about their individual lives of where they brought it. They brought who they were to build their business, to do their job, to have their relationships, to deal with the different women, or to fucking go through the breakup that takes them and their full self doing it. Their choice, their rules with some guidance, their ability to make mistakes, but always, 100% bringing themselves to be their best. And I'll tell you this, man, there's way more experience about the reality of what happens with women, with sex, with relationships that comes into play on these calls because all of us are fucking. And we're fucking a lot. If you want a life like that, or if this podcast spoke to you in these different ways, or if it's something that you just want to be open to, man, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below, hit a like, hit a dislike even if you want, but subscribe to the channel and start building this in a great way. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, same thing. Man, find a way to interact. And for you YouTube guys, for you iTunes guys, you Stitcher guys, click the free link or the free stuff link down below. That will take you to a page where you can watch the video of this. You can read more up on it. But more importantly, you can download our PDFs and get on our free AMD board. If you want to step that up even more, what you want to do is get on the AMD Plus at the time we're recording this in July 27, 2017. You can buy it for $50. You get a ton of products. You get Formula 69. You get, our Better Man's Guide. You get a whole bunch of stuff that comes all into play for you to have an excellent dating life. But more importantly, you get on our exclusive board where we interact with you. We have live webinars. We break down your stuff right there for you. There's tons of live coaching to be the best $50 that you spend in your life. But if you can't do that, I understand. We're a community. Be a part of it. Be a part of it for free. Step it up if you want. And man, live the fucking sexual life, because there's no reason why you should not have the sex that you want, the dating that you want, and the freedom that you want with your sexuality. If you do not feel like a man that can, have the women that you want in your life, that's what this podcast is for. Open up your ears, take some notes, do what we say, and you'll get there. And the reason why I know that is because I've been doing this for 11 years. We've had this group since fucking 2009, and that's exactly what happens. I don't care what your story is. We will get you there. All right. Talk to you guys soon. You have a good day.